Hi everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Alycia, and I have the absolute honor of being Dylan's girlfriend. Dylan and I met back in December of 2022, and even with the first couple of times he and I hung out, I could tell immediately how much of an amazing, caring, and kind person that he was. The thing about Dylan was that he didn't need a reason to show kindness to anyone. He just did. It's who he was. Sure, he towered over most people and could probably be pretty capable of taking anyone in a fight, but deep down, he was the biggest teddy bear, and that didn't take very long to show.
You couldn't fight his way out of a wet paper bag.
When Dylan and I first started dating, we realized that we both absolutely loved dogs. Jersey, Dylan's old dog, her picture's coming up, circulating on that photo album there. She was a pretty common topic of discussion in the first couple of months. Dylan absolutely loved Jersey. When Dylan and I hung out together, even in the beginning, we could get to be pretty silly. Our humor was pretty well expressed through wiener dog memes. We always joked about getting a wiener dog and naming it Wilson for when we would move in together, but I think both of us knew that wasn't so much of a joke. Dylan and I talked a lot about the future. It was the best thing that we could do for the cards that had been dealt. Dylan wanted to pursue kinesiology, and I think his most recent hope was to eventually become a high school gym teacher. Dylan wanted to be a dad, and not just because of his iconic nickname. Dylan dreamed of him and I one day having a family, living in a nice house with modern rustic features, at least an acre of land, but not too far away from his family at home, because he always wanted to be close enough to still be there for them. Dylan wanted a little boy specifically. He talked about wanting to do family things like watching movies and matching PJs, teaching the kids how to play sports. Obviously, baseball and hockey would be at the top of the list. Dylan would have been the best dad, and that's something we both knew. I think he wanted to recreate the magic that he was able to describe to me from his own childhood. When Dylan first told me that he and Mason were exactly 6.5 years apart, I assumed that they wouldn't have had the same bond that siblings closer in age would have. However, I was very, very wrong. The love and protection Dylan displayed towards Mason was evident to me from day one. I have no doubt in my mind that Dylan is watching over and still protecting Mason today and every day forward. By August, I think I had met pretty much all of Dylan's friends and almost all of his family too. And it didn't take me long to connect the dots on how Dylan came to be so admirable. His whole family has shown me nothing but kindness and generosity with such a warm embrace. I'm so grateful that I was able to spend as much time with Dylan as I could, although it would have never been enough, and it should have been forever. I appreciate what I was graciously given. Dylan and I were only together for about 3.5 months before everything happened. Considering the amount of things that he and I were able to do right up until November is remarkable. I live around Midhurst, just outside of Barrie, and in Midhurst there's a little breakfast place called Linda's, and Dylan and I would always go there when he would stay over. So a typical breakfast order for Dylan at Linda's would have to be the Hungry Man number 3, consisting of 3 eggs, home fries, 1 pancake or French toast, 3 pieces of bacon, 1 back bacon, 3 sausages, and a chocolate milk. And just a few hours after that, he'd be ready for a foot-long from Subway. Dylan was the definition of a fighter, and I can't name one time that he complained about his situation. Even through the difficult mornings, Dylan managed to get up each day and tackle whatever else was to be thrown towards him. Him and I actually managed to go on a day trip this summer. For our 6-month anniversary, we drove to a beautiful place called Alycia Quarry. It's right near Guelph, actually, for those of you who are Guelph kids. The drive was quite scenic. and we made sure to put down the windows and moo to all the cows on the farm along the way. I'm not kidding. Dylan also toughed it out through prom and his graduation this year. He was quite proud that he was able to pick out the exact tie color that he did, which matched my dress perfectly. I don't know if the night was what Dylan pictured it to be, but in my eyes it was pretty perfect. I know that Dylan cherished any time that he got to spend with his friends, and I know he had so much fun despite the strain it had for him. He even made sure to slow dance with me during the country songs that were played. Dylan absolutely loved Morgan Wallen, which I don't think is news to anyone here, but my plan for his Christmas present was supposed to be hopefully Morgan Wallen tickets. Dylan was also very proud of himself for, quote, converting me into country. Another thing that I know isn't news to anyone here is Dylan's love for baseball and hockey, as Mike talked about. I was always so impressed with how much Dylan knew about the two sports. Of course, from playing, he knew both games like the back of his hand, but if he wasn't texting me, he was checking Sportsnet. He knew everything about the players, certain trades and stats that him and Mike would discuss all the time. I love seeing Dylan's passion for sports stay so strong, and it's amazing the connections that he was able to gain through this horrible situation. I know it absolutely meant the world to him to be acquainted with Sportsnet's Jamie Campbell, and if that wasn't cool enough, Dylan also made it out to the night that Howie Campbell put together for him with the Barrie Colts. I'm so grateful for the things that Dylan was able to experience because I know it meant the absolute world to him. I met Dylan when I was 16. I'm now turning 18 in a couple of weeks, and I never would have guessed that things would be this way. It's very much my worst nightmare, having lost the absolute love of my life. I know I'm not alone, and I know we're all hurting over the loss of such an amazing and honorable man that Dylan was and is. And every name that is being signed in the guest book only proves the kindness and impression that Dylan had on people. I'm honored that he chose to spend the rest of his life with me,